14-year-old suspect in that shooting at an elementary school in South Carolina is set to appear in court this morning as we learn more about recent trouble in his life. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez on the story again for us. Hi, Gabe. Good morning.
Savannah, good morning. This is where that 14-year-old suspect is scheduled to be in court later today. Police say he shot and killed his own father before heading to that nearby elementary school and opening fire. According to a source close to his family, for years he had been bullied.
Jacob's a beautiful little boy.
This morning, prayers for 6-year-old Jacob Hall, now on life support.
God's took a little boy and has touched our hearts.
Shot in the leg, his family says he lost 75% of his blood and suffered a major brain injury. His older brother at one point overcome with grief.
Nobody in this world deserves nothing like that to happen.
Investigators are now looking into whether the accused 14-year-old shooter may have been bullied. A source close to his family tells NBC News he was being homeschooled after he brought a machete and a hatchet to his middle school earlier this year. His mother says our entire family is absolutely shocked and saddened by the senseless actions of our son.
We experienced a very devastating and life-changing event.
Fire Chief Billy McAdams and volunteer firefighter Jamie Brock rushed to Townville Elementary. The unarmed Brock wrestled the suspect to the ground while McAdams tended to the 3 wounded.
No one, teacher nor mother nor father, ever wants to hear the words shooter and school.
Allison Buchanan's son Gaines survived. When teacher Megan Hollinsworth, who was hit in the shoulder, rushed students inside and locked the doors, the 3rd grader says he knew this was no practice drill.
They told us to get in the bathrooms, which has never happened in a drill, so we started thinking it was real. We heard gunshots outside.
The reunion with her son, overwhelming.
Pure joy. I looked and I saw his sweet little face peering off out of the bus window, and he waved like this, and I don't have words. Just relief.
According to a source close to his family, the mother of the accused gunman visited him in jail late Thursday. She said it was overwhelming, telling him, "I'm very angry at what happened and don't understand it, but you're my son." Savannah?
Oh, some really difficult times there. Gabe Gutierrez, thank you.
For more on this, we're joined by Mr. Scott Bennett, political commentator, live out of San Francisco in the U.S. Mr. Bennett, it's good to have you with us again. So France is lending its fighter jets and its aircraft carrier as it claims to fight Daesh, while we had, as you heard in the news, that reports and claims such as the one by Lebanon's resistance movement Hezbollah that the U.S. and France and some of their Western and regional allies such as Qatar and Turkey are actually backing Takfiri terrorists in Syria. What's your take on that?
Well, the French are simply responding to their American masters. They're doing what the American puppeteers are commanding France to do. So this isn't any noble effort on France's term. It is simply obeying what the United States CIA, Department of Justice, or Department of Defense, and the Obama administration, the State Department, has been instructing it to do. It's very clear that the U.S. is pulling that string because we see John Kerry trying to walk out of the talks with Russia regarding Syria. John Kerry is threatened, he's blustered, he's made all sorts of noise trying to protect his favorite Takfiri mercenaries, which have been the weapon that the United States has used to remove Assad. Now Russia has stood up and refused to back down. They've refused to stop their bombing of the Wahhabi terrorists, and this is greatly frustrating the United States because they realize once the Russians were attacked, once the Syrian soldiers were killed, there was no going back. The United States was exposed as a financier and a terrorist ally, and Russia has defined them as that. The entire world, in fact, is beginning to see that, and as a result, Russia has responded appropriately by taking control of the airspace and bombing them into oblivion. So the United States, instead of putting its own soldiers and its own armaments into this fight, they're asking the French to do their dirty work. Now, it's also insanity because the French are essentially destroying their own people in their own country with terrorism and a police state, because the more that they bomb Assad and bomb the infrastructure, we see the U.S. and the NATO allies and France and Britain bombing bridges, bombing dams. Those aren't terrorists. Those are the infrastructure of Assad. But the more they do that, the more they flood their own country with refugees, the more they threaten and destabilize their country with the ISIS fanaticism and ideology, and the more they work against the interests of their own people.
So are we to conclude that there must be, logically thinking, there must be something that they want to gain in this battlefield that's going on in Iraq and Syria? So there must be a reason that the French are getting involved. Is it safe to say that there's no gain for them?
Well, the gain that they're looking to do, I think, is really not a gain at all, and it's short-sighted. Their gain is to remove Assad. Their gain is to remove Assad to appease Qatar and Saudi Arabia, that has been really fomenting this war for the last 5 years, trying to turn it into a Wahhabi Takfiri state. And they've tried to do that in Libya, and it's turned into chaos. And the same chaos would result in Syria. But for some reason, the French and the British and the United States either are blind or completely insane in their policy, schizophrenic in their policy, because if Assad was removed, as Senator Dick Black has said, and he's an American senator, and many of us have agreed with him, if Assad was removed, it would cause utter chaos. It would destroy the dam, and you'd have a flood of violence and bloodshed in the Middle East. So the French thinking is really misguided. The United States thinking under Obama and John Kerry is very misguided, if not blatant in treason. Now, they do have a financial interest. The more they destabilize these countries, the more they have opportunity to siphon off and parasitically steal their natural resources. And of course, we know Syria is wanted to be controlled by the United States for energy reserves, for all sorts of natural gas and oil pipeline control, going to the EU. So there is an economic interest to making Syria a puppet regime. But I don't think Russia will allow that. I don't think Assad will allow that. He is really standing up, and he's getting his second wind. He's finding an entire new identity as sort of the besieged king who is fighting away the invaders, fighting away the monsters that have been raping and pillaging his people. And with Russia backing him, and with Iran backing him, and with China backing him, he really has the strongest nations of the world backing him. And it's only the misguided blindness of some of these pathetic European leaders who don't have the wisdom or the strength to break out of the U.S. stranglehold. These European leaders, these European countries, aren't being able to break out of that and see that they really need to be on the side of Assad in order to stop this Takfiri Wahhabism, which
Bennett,
is the prime cause of terrorism.
Thank you so much for being with us. I'm afraid that's all the time. Scott Bennett, political commentator, talking to us out of San Francisco.
Pakistan's federal cabinet has met on how to respond to what Islamabad sees as emerging threats of war from India. The meeting came after New Delhi said it had carried out surgical strikes in the disputed region of Kashmir to foil what it called a terrorist attack. Pakistan insists that no surgical attack has been carried out and that Indian Army has fired towards Pakistani side of the border in Kashmir.
To conduct a surgical strike, you have to cross the border or the line of control into Pakistani territory, and also inflict serious damage on Pakistan's war-making capacity and then go back unharmed. There is no evidence of India having done anything of this kind, except that India has been carrying out cross-border firing.
India is desperate to divert the international community's attention from the atrocities and blatant human rights violations in Indian-occupied Kashmir. Indian occupation forces have martyred more than 100 innocent Kashmiris, including children, women, and young men, caused injuries to the eyes of over 800.
Pakistan and India have been at odds over Kashmir for decades, with both claiming it. But tensions escalated early this month after gunmen attacked an Indian army base in Kashmir and killed 17 Indian soldiers. New Delhi blamed the attack on Islamabad. Pakistan has not ruled out the possibility of using nuclear weapons in the event of a war with India. Analysts say that both nuclear-armed countries are capable of fully destroying each other, but they have no chance of winning at the battlefield. Javed Rana, Press TV, Islamabad.